of the client as well as get a summary of the case as well. And let's dive right into it. I'll show you end to end how to create this pipeline and get those insights utilizing Rivery. So on the screen here, this is Rivery, and essentially we're a SaaS platform that allows you to build your data pipelines. And in order to do that, we give you three modules. The first one is your source to target river. This means that you would select your source, such as a built-in application that we have within the platform. Select your target, such as Snowflake, to where you want to push your data. We help you map your schema, your different fields, as well as schedule your pipeline. The second building block is the logic river, and this is where you can combine source to target rivers with API calls as well and create very complex workflows, as well as use SQL transformation. So you could push down SQL to Snowflake and transform your staging tables into a production table, all within one data pipeline in Rivery, and also allow you to do transformations using Python. Then the third building block is the action river. And here, if you want to create your own connector utilizing a REST API, you can do that very easily within a few clicks in Rivery. And that connector will then become your source so that you can push data to your Snowflake table. So for this demo, we'll create a source to target river. And on the screen here, as step one is to select my source. You can see multiple applications that we have built in, such as marketing tools, analytics tools, business operations, CRM and support, databases. We also support Snowflake as a source, which you can use for your reverse ETL use cases, e-commerce tools, storage and files, HR tools, and engineering, as well as the REST API. For this demo, we'll select Salesforce as our source because I would like to grab data from Salesforce, essentially cases that exist in Salesforce, and push that to Snowflake. Let me go to a river that I've created for this demo. And here, as the first step, once I select my source, is to establish a connection. And very simply, you would click on New Connection. For each connection that you want to create in Rivery, on the right-hand side, we give you detailed instructions. And on the left, those are the fields that we require to establish the connection. Once you have them there, you click on Test Connection. We get a green tick showing you that everything looks good. And you can choose your river mode, so we'll leave it as multi-tables. This means that we want to detect all our tables in Salesforce. The API, leave it as the bulk API. By default, everything looks fine. Next step is to choose our target. So this is pretty much, what you need to go through very easily to create a source connector or source connection, sorry. Now choosing our target, Snowflake is our desired target. And there, I'll click on New Connection if I didn't have one already. On the right-hand side, you have your instructions on how to essentially connect to Snowflake, and you'll get your username, your password, warehouse rule, account name. You can specify default database and schema for this connection, as well as set up a custom file zone. This means that you can specify your own S3 or blob bucket or GCS bucket, and we would use this as staging area, ensuring that data always stays within your own ecosystem. Once you have all your details, you click on Test Connection, you get a green tick showing you that everything looks good. And there we would select where we'd like to load the data. So I have it as my solutions database, merv demo as my schema name. And here I've added a prefix to each of my tables so that they all start with SF underscore. And next is my loading mode. So I have three options in terms of loading modes. I can override. This means I want to recreate my table on every run. I can append only. This is where I would add new rows to my table, or I can do upset merge, and that's where I would select or use the primary key to replace matching rows, keep unmatched rows, or add new rows to my table. And that's it. So now we can go to step 3, and you can see here that we've picked up all the tables that you have in Salesforce. And there I've pre-selected 5 tables that are required to be able to do the analysis that I want to do on my Salesforce cases. So those tables are my case comments, my feed comments, email message, the user, and the case. And last step here, if I wanted to schedule this pipeline to run on a regular basis, I could do this by minutes, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or even have a custom expression there, set the timeout and subscribe to notification. So once I'm happy with that, then I could run this pipeline. This would create essentially those selected tables right into my Snowflake schema very, very easily. And so now from those 5 tables, we can use those amazing features and functions that Antoine showed us to be able to do the analysis that we want to do. Let me go into another river. So there, I essentially created a logic river by going into create a river, a logic river, and within a logic river, I can have multiple steps, and I can select any of my rivers as one of the steps there. I can have SQL transformations right within this river as an example of using Snowflake, and there I can push down a SQL query right into Snowflake. So I'm going to show you one that I've built for this use case. The first step is the pipeline that we just built together. So to load data from Salesforce into Snowflake, and this step here essentially creates the 5 tables that we need. The next stage is to now start transforming the data in order to be able to run the AI functions within Snowflake. So what we're doing here is we're taking our tables, such as our email message table, our case comment table, our feed comment table, and joining those using union as well as list ag, and ordering them by created time and creating this combined body fields within our table. And you can see here that we are matching them by the case ID. And based on this combined body, this is essentially an aggregation and a concatenation of the whole case details that then we will be able to summarize in order to utilize AI to understand, the details that we want to have for each of those cases. So once I run this query, I can specify what would I like to do with the output of that query. So here within the UI, I've selected Rivery demo as my database, Cortex as my schema. Table name is SF comments concatenated. Essentially, this query would now, when I run this step, it will create my SF comments concatenated table within Snowflake, and we can take a look at what that looks like. So here you go. This has taken all my case details, combined them into this one field, which is the combined body, and I have my case ID. So this table essentially just contains case ID as well and the combined body, which is, all my details of each of those cases. And now from here, we can take this table and have a next step in terms of our transformation. And this is the step where we'll be able to utilize the amazing, AI functions within Snowflake. So I have a query here that's essentially taking data from the table we just looked at, SF comments concatenated. And what we're doing here is, first of all, we are utilizing the Snowflake Cortex summarize function, which Antoine already mentioned earlier today. So what this does is this takes my fields and then all the details there, and it summarizes it so that I can then utilize this summary and the prompt that you see there, essentially a prompt that just says, you're analyzing support tickets, and you wanted to understand, whether the tickets was resolved, yes or no, the resolution details, the sentiment of the user, as well as the sentiment details. And there we're utilizing the Salesforce Cortex complete function, and the complete function allows us to select the model that we'd like to use, which we selected the Mistral AX7B as the model. And here's our prompt. And what this will do is essentially, first of all, create a case summary column in our table, as well as create a case resolution and sentiment column that would be the output of this prompt for each of our case IDs. Let's take a look at what that column table looks like. But before that, I need to specify where I would like this SQL queries output to go to. And there I'm selecting solutions as my database, schema, merv demo, SF cases analyzed as name of my table. And when I run this pipeline, essentially what this will do is create my 5 tables in Snowflake, run this query, summarize my case details, and create my concatenated table. And the last step takes data from that concatenated table, runs it through this SQL transformation with the Snowflake Cortex summarize and complete functions, and creates my final cases analyzed table. And this is pretty much what I need. Let's take a look at what this final table will look like. Here you can see that I have my case ID, I have my case summary that was created by the summarize function of Cortex, and I have my case resolution and sentiment. And we can take a closer look at one of those. And this is what this field or the data within this field would look like. You have your resolution. This is yes, resolution details, sentiment. This was positive, sentiment details. The customer was satisfied with the solution. So that's great. So within this single workflow, I've been able to summarize this particular case and obtain, those really helpful analysis from all my cases. There we go. This is essentially how you would go about to utilize Rivery to pull your data and push that into Snowflake, and then utilize the AI functions of Cortex to be able to do your analysis. And so on the next slide here, we'll talk about why Rivery and Snowflake is better together.